What's up, YouTube? I spent 3 hours trying to learn Avatar. Although eventually I started looking like I knew what I was doing, I still had one major question. Is this game good enough to keep playing? This is the first episode of Doesn't Make the Cut, where I'll be testing games to see if they deserve a spot in my main rotation. For Avatar, I give myself 3 hours to choose a character, learn a combo, and then take that online and see if I can start beating some people online. So step one was obviously hopping right into story mode. Any fighting game I play, straight to story mode. If I can't beat the first levels, we got a problem. And we had a problem. At this point I did some studying online, and for some reason I thought Katara would be my main character because she's creates distance and such. And then I realized that's not how I play. I'm kind of a rush down player with some spacing in my game. Also, this game has a weird training mode where you can do like a breakdown where it's kind of like DDR and they tell you the buttons, but it was super confusing. Bruh. Really? Really? So after a quick training session with Katara, I figured now I learned the basic combo. There is a basic combo in the game where you kind of just mash square, but then you kind of follow-up moves. Now that I learned this, I figured let's go back to story mode and hopefully beat the third level that I was on, because this story mode was beating my ass. As of right now, I've played about 2 hours straight of Avatar the fighting game. And right now, I would rate it probably like a C? Actually, no. Maybe a B minus. I'll say a B minus. It is a fighting game that is pretty good. I would say it's decently hard. So as an average gamer, it's pretty hard to figure out the combos and master them. However, there is like a pocket combo you can kind of have. Like, you know, your typical press square 3 times, you get a decent combo, which makes the game not too difficult amongst your peers. So here I'm using that basic combo and just trying to find out the proper follow-ups to see what I can actually chain together. See, I took this thing pretty serious. So at this moment, I started grinding Korra, learning combos, and I learned the generic combo, which I thought was good enough. Once I learned the combo, I didn't even try it more than a couple times. I just went online and said, forget practice, let's see what happens. And let's just say BTA happened. So right after that, we went back to the drawing board to learn again. As I said earlier, BTA. At this point, you can see looking up every move, and it's kind of locking down the fact that this is my character and finding out the intricacies of playing a character like Korra. For example, you need to use all the elements in order to go into Avatar state, which is a big part of your damage buff, and a lot of flow moves that we gotta learn during this time. Right now, I'm feeling myself. About to go online, first match of Korra, and we'll get a dub, obviously. Like, I didn't do all that training for nothing, you know? In this match, I face Azula, who is one of the best characters in the game. Crazy rushdowns, crazy combos, good spacing. As you can see, I'm trying to do my moves here, but she just keeps reading everything I'm doing. Gets me down literally to like 0 health, where I then put on like a crazy comeback, but just wasn't enough to get the job done. I did revert a lot in this match back to button mashing, so for the next matchup, I need to figure out my combos, wait for my spots, pick my poison, and go from there. One thing I like with this game is they have character interactions, so I try to leave some of those in so you can see, but this is one between Korra and Toph about being independent. Okay, so I'm starting to get the hang of the combos, which felt good. I went from barely even understanding the game at all to putting together some nice strings and getting my first dub, obviously, as you can see here. And just kind of learning the game, the flow state, and a bunch of stuff, and assist. It's kind of a lot to learn, but once you start grasping it, it kind of makes the game a little bit easier. But the question is never, or was never, if the game works. The game obviously works, and the game's obviously a decent game. It was just, the question is it good enough to stay in the rotation and keep me invested in my time? So, after 3 hours with Avatar, I definitely understand the game more than when I first started. And once I committed to Korra, learned a combo, lost online, and finally got a big dub, the game became more fun. With so many fighting games out, fun is not always enough. I never reached a point where I want to spend hours learning every matchup or mastering full combos. So in the end, Avatar does make the cut, but not as one of my main games. It will make the friend group rotation. I mean, I'll learn Korra enough to be my friends, and I probably won't be grinding this game seriously at all.